All right, folks. Hello and good morning. Thank you for joining me today. We've got a fun one for you, I hope. We've got Ted Livermore, we've got John Kim. This is a very important Atlantic League game. Ted needs to win this one, or else he suffers the humiliation of joining me on the sidelines for the Atlantic League playoffs. So, Ted's USSR today will be watching from his side. We're playing the video just a little bit speeded up. So let's get right to it. Okay, and already I see that sped up is not going to work because of Ted's crappy video quality from the Zoom meeting. So we will just do regular speed. I think that will work fine. Or the video is just going to be crap regardless. So, okay. All right. Fine. We will speed it up just slightly because clearly that doesn't make the difference. Okay, now here we go. One last time to start. Okay, so Ted's hand here is, wow, his hand extremely mediocre. Looks like we've got 5, 7, 9, 12, 13, 17 ops, which is right about the average. We have a couple of decent headline options. So decent ops, decent headlines. No access cards to speak of, although AI War could result in some access. We'll see how this one goes and where Ted wants to go. I don't know that he has the ops for a Europe attack. My headline would be AI War, but I know some players prefer sock govs. Okay, well, AI War, not so good against Middle East, but Ted hits the roll, pulls back a couple of VPs, and we'll see if Ted wants to go for the Iran coup anyway. I would, and Ted does the same. So John is cleaned out of the Middle East. Unfortunately, he scored it in the headline. Yes, I know this is terrible production value, but here we go. Okay, and John immediately dumps Asia as well. I think that is wise, given that Middle East is scored. Asia's not going to get any better. Now, Ted with the opportunity to space if he wants, but this is not a... Ted does not have a space card in his hand. So instead, he takes Pakistan and goes into South Korea. Okay. So, interesting. Ted moves right into Pakistan with Asia scored and DEFCON at 4. We'll see if John wants to take a coup there with Asia scored. I'm not convinced that he will. Oh, wow. Okay. Marshall event. So here we are at AR3. John has yet to play ops. To score, headline to scoring, and then a scoring AR1, Marshall AR2. Ted wants to get into India. I think this is the right play. Get rid of Truman, which one, it does nothing. And a poke of West Germany now doesn't do anything because West Germany is sitting in at 5. So Ted, without much to do the rest of this turn, he's going to probably have to respond to a coup on John's part at some point. But okay, John gets into Syria. Which makes sense even with the Middle East scored. Ted maybe could have blocked that off. Yeah, I think allowing him into Syria like that might have been a mistake. But you also know John wants to coup. Okay, and Ted now coups Panama, which I'm a little confused by, given that John needs Millops. But okay, and now John's going to take the Nasser coup. John needs a 6 here really to do anything. Is he going to get it? He will not. And Ted now, yeah, I think you have to hold Korean War. So, Ted's going to space Formosan, looking for a couple of VPs and not finding them. Does John have Europe? And yeah, Ted could have taken Lebanon there. I think I would have liked to see him do that, given the Middle East situation. I think that could have been Lebanon, South Korea. But okay, here we go, turn two, and a nice hand for Ted. No D cards, but he picks up Purge and Vietnam. Both very strong headlines. He gets Duck, which may be a hold, and Containment for AR6. So we'll see what Ted wants to do here. Blockade and Decall around, so Purge is viable, but so is Defectors. Yeah, and there goes Defectors. Okay, so Ted will not be getting Thailand, but at least he doesn't get Purge Defectored. And we'll see how serious Ted wants to be on this coup. Needs a 3, and he gets just enough. So Ted with some influence in the mid-war region. CIA now active, but that's fine with Ted. He wants to get something on the board in the mid-war regions. Middle East was headlined, Alex. So, okay, Ted does get to space first, and he hits it this time. John takes Thailand, which makes sense. I would assume we would see Europe scored here. Yep, and that's exactly right. So, unfortunately for Ted, Europe comes, but at least John has to score all 3. Okay, Ted now thinking about taking some Asian battlegrounds. I don't know what we're going to accomplish in Europe. Okay, 3 South Korea, 1 Burma to threaten Laos. Okay, now South Korean War freed up. This should be Laos and Zaire. Okay, I think if I were Ted, I might start filling Middle Eastern battlegrounds here. Okay, Ted doesn't want to be presenceless in Europe in the face of a potential EEU redraw. And Ted may have Asia control on his mind. Ted is a big fan of getting Asia control. He's got US, Japan in his hand. It's turn 4. This looks like a situation where he's going to hold it. I think Fidel probably takes India here. Okay, or Iraq is fine. Yep, Iraq probably better than India. Given that John can step in there. But Ted, unfortunately, is not. What he's not going to have is Middle East Dom. So he's going to be not pleased if Middle East comes turn 3. Oh, okay. Ted's going to go for the event of Fidel rather than putting it back in the deck. We'll see if John moves into Iraq here. Yeah, normally I agree Libya is better than Iraq, but in this case, Iraq is contested. Neither Libya nor Egypt is. So yeah, I think you got to take India to protect against future IP wars. And Ted just puts 1 into Libya. Doesn't take it, but John can't poke there. So Ted's going to hope Middle East comes a little bit later, or else hopes that he draws it. I don't believe we've seen decall or destall yet. Haven't seen blockade either. Oh, well, there it is. And I assume this will be destall. No, de Gaulle. So both D cards coming out turn 3. So huge moment in this game. Who is going to get those cards? Will Ted get 1? Will Ted get neither? What are we going to see? Ted gets destall, but not decall. Also picks up CNS, Indy Reds, and Suez. I am not remembering important. Okay, Asia is an interesting redraw for Ted. It seems unlikely to me that Ted will want to destall into Vietnam and score Asia Dom. That seems very dumb. But Ted does pick up defectors, which is important. So he can destall in the headline, which in fact is exactly what I'd do. I would destall in the headline into Nigeria, Venezuela, Chile, and then if John redrew Duck, you can also go into Vietnam and score Dom. I would absolutely be headlining D-Stall here. I'm not sure. Suez does not much. Why not D-Stall here? Because if you don't D-Stall, then you're gonna coup, and then you're not gonna get Nigeria. So this should be D-Stall, right? Okay, Ted's saying he doesn't have any D-Stall food, which is a concern. So you'd have to take one out of Poland. You'd have to take probably, I guess, one out. Okay, that misses. One out of Syria. Oh, and Ted misses on the Angola coup. Well, yeah, it would be a painful D-Stall. One out of Syria, one out of Libya, and then one out of probably South Korea. Okay, that's a fair point, but still, now we are going to lose Nigeria. And Duck wasn't the headline anyway. So, okay. NTB is going to take Angola, going to take, yeah. Okay, and one where else? I did not see. One Nigeria, one Angola, one Algeria, and one Greece, I guess. Yeah, can't do Burma against an IP war headline. That's absolutely right. So at this point, there's probably no rush on D-Stall unless you're worried about getting it sniped with 5-year plan. I guess you could D-Stall now, but you still have the same food issue, and you don't have a card like Romanian that's going to give you places to take from. You could trigger De Gaulle here. You could dump Asia. You could also use De Gaulle to flip Laos, which maybe is what we'll see. That would give Ted 6 countries to 4 for John. But John can stop that with a 2-op, and Ted wants to use his ops after D-Stall to spread out in South America. So Ted wants to be taking battlegrounds, not non-battlegrounds. Okay, Cambridge 5, Ted happy to see that. No Europe in John's hand. And yep, there goes Mexico. So that would have been a potential D-Stall target. But yeah, Ted really struggling here with D-Stall, but he's going to have to do it. Unless you're going to place ops to then immediately take them away. Yeah, and Ted's not going to do that. He's going to trigger De Gaulle, which is fine, but doesn't help your D-Stall problem. And we're rapidly running out of ARs here to spread out in South America. Okay, we're getting Algeria and Libya. There goes D-Call. Hits the roll. Is Ted going to hold D-Stall for more food? That's so risky with VOA potentially coming. But he could space defectors here, then trigger CNS. Ted's going to take a coup in Cameroon. Interesting. Okay, so threaten both those African countries. Stop Dom. Okay, and that also gives Ted a bunch of D-Stall food. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So now you could take out of there and D-Stall. And CNS for ops to take Panama. All right, I don't know that I understand that. But okay, we're gonna hold a known D-Stall to the mid-war. Okay, that's what we're doing. And here we go to turn 4. All right, Southeast Asia is going to be unpleasant unless Ted can get off an ABM coup. Defectors is gone, so Ted can headline D-Stall if he wants, but now VOA is in the deck. Yeah, didn't think about taking ops out of Cameroon. Definitely should have taken ops out of Cameroon. But defectors is gone, so D-Stall a viable headline. OPEC could be a big number. Right now it's only 2, but by the end of this turn it could be 5 if Ted plays his cards right. Got some decent ops here. Willie for a VP, or more likely a coup in Nigeria. But I think with Southeast Asia in your hand, is it just an ABM? Is it just an ABM headline? And a coup of Thailand, I guess with Missile Envy lurking, it has to be ABM. Okay, how I learned. So Ted only going to get one coup here, and if you're gonna roll on Thailand, you need a 4 to take it. Otherwise, this basically does nothing. So I think you take the sure thing in Africa. Yeah, I like that decision. John will lower DEFCON 2, and then Ted can destall if he likes, or he can flip Nigeria with CMC. Or with arms race, because he's not getting it off this turn. That's fine too. And Ted takes an Africa Dom, still with D-stall holding, still hanging on to a known D-stall in his hand. Fascinating. Well, now D-stall fuel not a concern because Romanian was played. CRGs is annoying to Ted, but not a disaster. Should be an easy 3-op fix. Ted's going to want to take Burma back before he scores Southeast Asia, I would think. But IP War is in the discard. Ted's got a lot he wants to do. Ted wants to destall. He wants to use shuttle to take back Burma and maybe take some Middle Eastern countries. He wants to get OPEC off for a big number. I wonder if OPEC has a hold here. Okay, Ted probably doesn't care about that. He doesn't have Africa. That also doesn't stop Dom. All right, Ted finally is going to de-Stalinize into South America, and he's just going to hope we do not see VOA. And I will hope for that as well. Okay, that's not VOA. Ted breathes a sigh of relief. Looks like he's going to get away with that late D-stall. Okay, we should see John, I suspect, stop Africa. No, going to realign. Okay, going to realign Algeria and hit the roll, and gets one out of Cuba as well. All right, well, that's annoying for Ted, but I don't think there's anything he can do about it. He just needs to spread out in South America now. Southeast Asia is going to be an ugly... I would take Burma over Egypt, I think, but... Okay. Southeast Asia right now sitting at 6. Quagmire going to space. Okay, so a little space chicken game. John loses, but he misses the roll. Ted picks up his 4 with OPEC. We'll see if Ted decides to take back Burma before scoring, or if he wants to space duck. A realign here at even of Cuba. Oh, that's annoying for Ted, but he still leaves 1 in there. And Ted probably now figuring, yeah, it's not worth the 1 VP to take Burma. You could use Willie for a VP. You could use the event for a VP. You could you put Willie back into Cuba. Okay, John's going to go after Cuba again and doesn't get it this time. And Ted is going to, yeah, that makes sense. You stop Europe domination and force John to respond to this, so he's not going to realign. Okay, UN of Lone Gunman. Okay, well, just a 1-op fix. Okay, we move on to turn 5. Close game here. John dominates in Africa. John dominates in Europe, but Ted looking better in South America and in the Middle East. Okay, Ted picks up grain, OAS, and duck. So he held over duck because he didn't space last turn. So Ted's got some problems here and needs to not get purged. Junta, I guess, is the headline, but Ted would probably rather coup in Africa. So we may be looking at libs here, but yeah, I guess because Junta, you're not going to coup with it, right? You're just going to put 2 in Mexico and pass probably, right? If DEFCON isn't lowered. Yeah, I think I like libs. Okay, and so now So now Ted is going to put one in Panama. And I think just two in Mexico is fine. Two in Mexico for sure, and one in Panama, so that PCR doesn't stop presence. Then you coup in Angola, which cleanly flips Dom in Africa. And then John can only, you take a 2-op coup of Angola and don't roll a 1. Okay, big roll for Ted. So he flips over Africa Dom, and now John can only take one of those 3 countries. He can take Brazil, he can take Venezuela, he can take Mexico, but he cannot take, he can only take one of them, and Ted will get the other 2. So John's got to decide what country he wants here. And he wants Venezuela. Okay, so Ted now with a 4-op can go Brazil, Colombia, and 2 Mexico, which would be my play. Yep, easy decision here for Ted. And now he's got Dom in South America, setting up realigns. But Ted also is dangerously close to being out of ops here. Yeah, this is not a great use of junta, but okay, he hits the roll. All right, so Ted with a must space duck, a must space grain, OAS, which is a problem, summit, which is a 1-op, and omit, which is going to be a poke of Lebanon, presumably. Okay, Pope played for ops. Ted, I'm sure happy to see that. Oh, that's a big 1. I might get rid of an obligation here rather than take Colombia. I think I might use omit to poke Lebanon here, get that done before we see Camp David. Because if Camp David comes, that's a problem. So I would space or I'd do the poke. I would not. If you take Colombia, you can do that. Yeah, this is the right play. This is the right play. Get that out of the way. And now you have to space. You're going to have to give OAS or China here, and OAS is going to be very annoying. So maybe Ted will play China, but I don't know if you want to play China with holding duck in your hand. More space chicken being played. Ted's going to lose this round, presumably. Salt, okay. Salt played for influence. I'm sure Ted happy to see that. Ted not happy to see the fact that he might be about to be realigned out of not 1 but 2 Central American countries. So I think he's got to take a coup. Anything but a 1. Oh, big number. Okay, well, Ted doesn't want to lose Mexico, but if he does, he still has domination. Portuguese doesn't do much. Okay, John's realign rolls have been pretty hot today. Ted can't contest that. He's got a... I can't imagine Ted's going to use China here. You've got a space, I think, and try and get the double. I would not do this. I would space, and then if we hit, John has to respond by spacing, or we get to space duck as well, and we don't have to give OAS. Okay. Ted playing it a little more aggressively than I would. Setting up central control, south duck. Oh, Ted with a great play. Yeah. Okay, that's a great read by Ted. He is admittedly better than me at making those kinds of reads. So, wow, great decision by Ted. I would have absolutely done something else. I want to point out to Justin viewers that I'm very drunk. Yep, great drunk play. Great drunk play that I wholeheartedly disapproved of. Ted spaces, hits the roll. Now, Ted would have still gotten a big... Okay, then he's got Middle East as well. So that's just 2. After a successful AI war and a big number in Iran, Ted probably wanted more than just 2 out of the Middle East, but we can't always get what we want. Okay, turn 6. This seems like a Brezhnev hand if I've ever seen one. Sock Govs is good, but we don't have a 4 with which to flip France. So we don't have a follow-up to Sock Govs. Um, I like Brezhnev best, I think. Yeah, Ted's counting. I think Ted is counting up his Brezhnev ops. Brezhnev also makes you could self trap if you want to and dump OAS to the trap. There's also a chance, I believe, that Ted could be getting purged here. Okay, John. He does go Brezhnev. Oh, wow. Okay. So sock govs would have been huge. Yep, Ted says double fuck. I think that's right. Sock govs would have been a six. Yeah, would have been a 6 point swing if Ted had headlined it. But if Ted had a four op, he would have. Now the fact that John headlined Europe with sock govs around suggests that perhaps John's hand is weak. Certainly, one small step would have been a better headline. Okay, going to use China. Okay, that's not a good use of the China card. John's hand must be terrible, I would think. But Ted, yeah, no. Get into Uruguay here. We've got to take Uruguay, right? Okay, well, yeah, I would rather have Uruguay here. Yeah, do this. This is much better. So the Europe headline suggests that John's hand is poor, or that he has lots of scoring. So he might have Africa and South America, or at least one or the other. Okay, big old four op. What's that going to do? Just jam. That is ineffectual, to say the least. With Ted under Brezhnev, yeah, not a smart play to jam somebody like that when Brezhnev is active. Ted easily fixes. That seems like a bit of a tilt, frustration play. Muslims is free, basically. Okay, Ted loves to see that. Yeah, yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I don't understand this play by John. Ted's under Brezhnev. You know he has ops. Okay, and there's Comic Con. Further beef up Eastern Europe. Pope's in the discard, so Ted not doesn't have to be concerned about EU control. I wonder if we'll see a coup of Uruguay now. No, coup of Colombia. Okay, Ted probably not worried about that. He'll just take his dom. Now seems like the time to space and try and pick up a couple of VPs. Ted's going to space bear trap instead of duck. Interesting. Maybe worried about missile envy. Ted misses on the roll. John spaces as well. So one small step doesn't show up. Both players playing around it. All right, I think you take Argentina here, and then maybe you take Botswana. Botswana sitting around. Botswana, Ted. Botswana. Okay. That I don't know what that does. Ted has to give OAS here, but OAS is no big deal under Brezhnev. I don't understand that poke of Venezuela. I would have rather overprotected Brazil, um, or overprotected something else, and then or used went Botswana. Yeah, and now Ted can't respond to this. Yeah, that's so if John has a 3-op, all of a sudden South America's even. Oh, he's got Africa. Wow. This whole turn spent fighting in South America, and Africa was the scoring he had. And meantime, a coup of Southeast African stops Dom, so there was potential path there. Okay, here we go, turn 7, and to Ted's great relief, he picks up Purge. Getting purged with his hand would be a disaster. He also picks up a ton of blue cards. So hand management definitely going to be a concern here. Ted up 11 VPs. I would not be surprised to see him give Duck for ops to take back Brazil. I think this is an easy purge headline, particularly against a likely missile envy incoming. That's an easy purge and not even thinking about it. Ted probably figuring out the cards that John has in his hand, but missile envy is the only card I need to know. Ted also picks up Brush, so he got all 3 power cards. Yeah, there's Missile Envy. And I think do you just hand over Duck to this? Yeah, I think you just hand over Duck here. Because if you don't, you have to space Duck. So you hand over Duck, and then you take Brazil back with your 2 ops. Yeah, you hand over Duck, you give the 3 VPs, you take back Brazil, you space VOA, and then you're going to deal with NORAD. Yeah, this is the right play. And then what else? Maybe, okay, just going to overprotect. Yeah, that makes sense with obligations in our hand and South known in John's. Although John, I believe, has Kennedy. So I believe John has Kennedy. I believe John has Kennedy, so Ted is going to be able to. Yeah, there it is. So so John's going to get rid of South America scoring and Korean War. That's it. And then we see a reshuffle. Okay, gets rid of We Will Bury You as well. All right, so that's actually that. So important. Duck goes back into the reshuffle, as does Purge, but none of these bad U.S. cards are going to go back in. So I think you space now. You space VOA now. Yeah, this is going to be an unpleasant turn for Ted, but I'm sure Ted will take that trade and wait and is happy to see all these bad cards not come until turn 7. All right, he's got to give up those 2 VPs. Now, what is the play? Also important to know, John discarded South America into the reshuffle. So he could have, for all we know, drawn South America right back. I think this is time. I think it's time for Sadat, perhaps. And then a brush of Egypt becomes very attractive. Right now, Venezuela is a fine target, but pretty much it, unless you're looking at 1 and 3. Sadat 1 into Egypt, let John take Egypt, give up Camp David, and then go ahead and brush Egypt makes sense to me. So Ted putting puppets on the side of China because I think it seems like that's going to be Ted's hold. No battlegrounds other than Saudi to put puppets into, but it can do damage in Africa. Putting 1 in Afghanistan is a little bit of an issue. Okay, John is going to do his interesting. John's going to do his realigns instead of just taking Egypt. That is a surprise. Okay, Ted's going to give Camp David. Maybe John redrew Central. That would be very bad for him. Okay, AI War redraw. Okay, and just a 1-op realign and does not. It gets 2 out. I think you put... Both players need their mill-ops here. Why do we need a third in Pakistan? Why do we need a third in Pakistan? Oh, wow. Okay, what a redraw. Nice play by John. Now, what does Ted have in the way of targets? Panama and Mexico are both full odds. And he's going to go Panama and he'll hit the roll. All right, Ted, I assume now is going to just coup Guatemala. Oh, and he's going to roll a 1. That's a very bad 1. Ted now going to have to give nuke subs, and John knows it. And nuke subs is definitely a problem. Can Ted do anything to be annoying with nuke subs? You could just take Egypt. Honestly, with Sadat and Nasser both gone, taking Egypt is good here. So we'll see if John does that. Marine barracks bombing is around as well, which is a huge problem for John at the moment. Yeah, okay. That, and then I think Usuri is also around. I would just take Egypt here, I think. But I get this. I mean, there's an open battleground. If you're going to do this, just... Okay, Ted's going to give puppets because he doesn't want to give up a coup in Africa. Yeah, normally the poke is good, but I think John's going to ignore this and just coup. I would have rather just taken the open battleground. There's a wide open battleground in Egypt right there that you can just take with your 2 ops. But Ted's gonna poke Europe, and I don't think John's gonna bite. Oh, he is gonna bite. Wow, I would have taken the 1-op coup of Nigeria for sure. But okay, good play by Ted. Again, a play I didn't like, but it works out for him. Okay, Ted with a much better hand here, turn 8. He does have CRGs to deal with. Puppets is the holdover, but he gets UN, so he can... Asia is not going to be a domination for Ted, but he should still be able to get a couple of VPs out of it. Unless, although I think John has Usuri. So I wonder if this is Junta to lower DEFCON and then Purge can fix Usuri. I think this is Junta to lower DEFCON, Purge fixes Usuri. Oh, grain. Okay. Oh! Not the card you wanted picked up there. Okay, he's going to trigger it. Okay, so Ted's going to now UN. He'll UN CRG. He'll space North Sea. Ted needs a 5 here. Gets a 4. Yeah, that's painful. Because that is a card that Ted... that obviously would have flipped Venezuela without the purge. Okay, and Ted scores Asia immediately because he knows Usuri's coming. So good play to get that out. Okay, tear down not really going to do much. That just has to take back Venezuela. I think you space here, right? You got to space North Sea. Ted's gonna miss an AR because I assume he's going to UN CRGs and give back-to-back ARs. You can't give North Sea and give 3 back-to-back ARs. So you've got a space. You don't necessarily have to do it right this second, but I might do it anyway. Nothing pressing on the board. If John takes Egypt, we can just trigger Muslims. Yeah, Ted's not getting arms race off here. Unless he coups with Muslim. Ted Spaces misses again. Ted's still behind in the space race. Star Wars lurking. Okay, so Ted has just had Missile Envy pull Brush on him, and he has just had Grain pull Purge on him. So that has been quite unlucky for Ted. However, Ted's still with 3 dominations on the board. He's ahead Battlegrounds in Egypt. He's ahead Battlegrounds in the Middle East. Europe, his only bad region, and Teardown is gone. Pope not evented, and Eastern Europe at 6 and 7. So not worried about control there. Ted in a good position here. John with just 1 positive region on the board. So if Ted can dodge DEFCON problems and not have this turn be really, really terrible, he'll be in good shape. I think this is a UN. So the temptation here for me would be to UN CRG and coup Guatemala. The problem with that is you are giving John a ton of advance notice that he's going to have back-to-back ARs, which maybe is the thing you don't want to do. Okay, Ted going to give puppets, so we'll see where that goes. Puppets can stop Central Dom, can also stop Africa Dom. Yeah, stop Africa, stop Central. Yeah, I think you got to coup Guatemala. And if John has Africa, you say, okay, fine, take your 1. John still hasn't filled Canada, importantly. Oh boy, ABM of... I didn't even... Okay, there it is. And a coup of Nigeria. All right, well, Ted now definitely dominated in Africa. Ted with 4 countries to 7, so no point in trying to fight this off. You could still... I mean, you still take a 1-up coup of Zimbabwe or whatever. Oh, no, now he's going to give CRG... Yeah. So Ted is going to give CRGs because it doesn't really do anything anymore. Africa is so far gone. Brush, ABM, Junta, all gone. You know, Vietnam doesn't do anything. Okay, and Ted just going to protect what he has in Central. Oh, and he does have Africa. Terrible, terrible turn of events for John. So for Ted. So John kind of turning this game a little bit. Still would rather be Ted though. What is this? What? I don't even know what Ted did. MBB would have been a big card for Ted to get. And John instead gets Headline Peak. That could be a problem for Ted. This is getting a little uncomfortable for him. He's... Okay. Ted going to do that. He was hoping John would take it, obviously. He didn't do it. And now Ted with a 4-op left. So Ted can start overprotecting stuff. Oh, Usury for influence. Wow. I don't like that play. I would have much rather attacked Asia, even with it scored. No. He can just take presence back with 2 ops, with 1 op. Dom is... I would rather take Iraq here. Scores for OPEC. It's a VP. Okay, that's a little bit of a weird play. But if John's got Middle East, there's no way he would have played it like that. Okay. Yuri is going to take Jordan. Oh, going to take Israel. Okay, yeah, that makes sense too. Okay, turn 9. Ted hoping to see a friendly scoring here. There are 3 of them out there. Oh, and he doesn't get one. He gets both lone gunman and CIA. With Grain is gone. But 5-year plan and terrorism are both around. I think Ted's got a headline Glasnost here, which is painful. Right? It's Glasnost, and then you give CIA, or maybe it's gunman. Glasnost gives CIA, and then coup Nigeria with your op. Gunman's a risk. Oh boy. Okay. All the power cards gone, missile envy gone. And this is not a bad hand to show with CIA either. So what degraders are out there? Cal, obviously. But yeah, boy, this is risky. You know, Cal and 5-year. Oh, defectors. Okay. All right. So not that painful as defectors go. That was not that painful to defectors. Yeah, Ted misses out on some knowledge there, but doesn't lose a key event. And John doesn't take tempo by headlining something scary. Ted safely gets out of CIA. He shows a hand that's perfectly fine to show to CIA. Now, Ted obviously doesn't want to see the Pope triggered on AR1. Okay, coup of Libya, and Ted can just fix. Now, if John triggers the Pope on AR1, Ted can use omit to poke Israel. If John doesn't have the Pope, John probably wants to take another Middle Eastern country to prevent that play. He probably wants to take Saudi. Yeah, John's going to take Saudi so that the omit poke is no longer live. Ted's going to get rid of solidarity. I think it's, taking Iraq is good. Both Iraq and Saudi sitting empty the whole game. Ted finally with a Middle East domination here. He has 4 battlegrounds to 2, so Middle East is 4, and John's going to just give it up right away. And shuttle is now free. So I wonder if maybe John should have hung on to Middle East a little bit longer to potentially save a VP. Ted needs Millops. Could trigger II war for the event, but probably figures he has this one and wants to start overprotecting. So if we do the math here, Ted up 6. Okay, CNS is 3. Ted up 3. Europe is 5 for John. Africa 4 for John. So Ted down 6, down 7 for China. But then Middle East is 4. Central is 5. South America is 5. Asia is 2. So Ted ahead here by about 10 or so. Obviously, a big question is: does Europe come? Is Ted, and if it does, is Ted able to disrupt it with something like Reformer? I'm fine with just a jam here. Ted now is in a position to try and run out the clock. He does need to get his Millops this turn. I wouldn't want to throw away those VPs. I'm fine with this too. Yeah. Yeah, Ted knows he's ahead and is fine running out the clock. I guess Iran-Iraq war could coup Saharan to ostensibly set up realigns on Nigeria, but with Ivory Coast, with one in Ivory Coast, I don't know how great that is. I might just try the event and try and pick up another couple of VPs. Oh, got to repair with China. Ted getting China turn 10. Very happy to get that. Iran-Iraq War. Yeah, you're going to take the Saharan coup and hit. So, so he would have gotten the two VPs out of Iran-Iraq War. No, 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 no. Okay, going to space. I don't understand. Why not? I don't like. I don't. Why space Omit? Why not just use Chernobyl? I don't understand that. Get Chernobyl out, and then Omit is useless on turn 10. Ted didn't need to space there. I don't understand. Okay, I don't understand that. But, okay, we move to turn 10. Okay, Libs is discarded, but not a particularly useful card for Ted anyway. And turn 10, okay, Ted picks up South America, gets Star Wars, which is very much active, and gets the Pope, which is not a problem. Okay, this should be GG for Ted. Terrorism and 5-year plan are around, but Purge is gone, so Ted can safely space Star Wars. So VOA is in the discard pile. Ted drew it turn 7 and did not discard it until and didn't space it until after Kennedy was played and the reshuffle was triggered. So Ted's safe from an AR7 VOA. North Sea has been spaced, so this will be 4 VPs for Ted. John's going to pull 3 back with Duck, but it shouldn't be good enough. I think Ted is just going to score South America here. Yeah, nice, easy 5 VPs. And Ted should cruise here. The only scorings left, Europe and Central. So John could pick up 5 in Europe, but he would give those 5 back in Central. No power cards left to flip the situation in Central. And Ted looks like he's going to stay alive in the Atlantic League playoff race. He needs this win. And sure enough, the Costa Rica coup always works every time. And there's the 1. So 1 in Guatemala. And yeah, Ted's got a space. Just get rid of that right away. Coup with special. Yeah, and if I were Ted, I might just start jamming in Europe and say, you know what, you want to realign Mexico? Fine. I'm just going to I'll just jam West Germany. I guess Ted does need his mill op, so sure, we try 1 coup. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want to risk a missed roll here. I'd just jam West Germany. Yeah, this is exactly right. So yeah, you want to take your realigns? Great, I'm going to take West Germany. That has to fix. Ted's going to do exactly the same thing again. Okay, that's fine too. Yeah, this time John can't fix. Okay, John's realigns has generally been pretty good. He hits on that one, but Ted's going to flip Algeria, and with it, Africa domination. And then, yeah, I just poke West Germany. Absolutely. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so Ted was 1-3 in Atlantic League play. He improves now to 2-3. So Ted with work left to do to make the playoffs. He needs to win his final 2 games. But if he does, he should be in decent shape to make it with a decent turn score. And so we'll see how things shake out. Michael McKibben 4-3, but yeah, and it went with a victory over Ted. So Ted needs a 3-way tie. at 4-3, or he just needs to only a two-way tie, but nobody else getting to 5 wins. Yeah, he'll just jam this. Browning Gentry still in the running for a playoff spot there as well. So a lot still to come in Group D over these final 10 days of the Atlantic League season. And there goes Central just for 1. GG, Ted with the victory. So Ted improves to 2-3. John falls to 3-3. And that's going to do it. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great rest of your day. That was fun, but now it's done. So long, everybody.